Welcome to Money 2020 Europe here in Amsterdam. I'm joined by my colleagues Peter and Petru. Peter, let's dive straight in. What are the big themes for you? What have you been walking around? What have you seen and heard?
What I saw mainly is that crypto came up a few years ago, but now went a little bit down. So the disappearance of more crypto companies in this event is for me, something that was remarkable.
Okay, and Petru, what about you?
I see a lot of identity verification companies. It's a crowd, so compared to the years before, it became a very crowded space, and a lot of issuers around.
A lot of issuers. Okay, interesting. And for me, I've been struck absolutely by the number of kind of open banking ecosystem kind of players. I mean, between identity and open banking, it feels like it's the majority of both the content and the stores. So crypto, Peter. I mean, it's is this the end of crypto, or is it just are we just in a lull?
It is a phase. The crypto market is low at this moment, so probably most of the companies are also limiting their marketing expense and therefore have less exposure. But once the market picks up, the budgets will be there again, and for sure the next years they will be there. And probably, or hopefully for a lot of people, the market will explode in a good way.
So even with the macroeconomic conditions that I've heard several speakers kind of talk about a winter that is coming to the payments industry. You think crypto will have a role to play even through that kind of payments winter?
In crypto, you always need some at the end fiat. You cannot go to the shop and pay with your crypto, so you need the conversion to fiat. And this conversion, then you have the cross-border people, they have the cards people who provide this access from crypto to fiat, and they will say there.
Okay, and Petru, you talked about, so we're just talking about on and offboarding ramps there, and I guess that's a universal truth of payments, is that you always need to know who it is that's accepting the payment and who's making the payment. So, I mean, there's a lot of KYC and AML identity providers. Tell me about, what's changed? Why are there suddenly so many? What's changed in the markets?
Identity is one of the problems that was difficult to solve, and it's still difficult to solve at global scale. I have seen a few players that are getting into hundreds of countries coverage, integrated with lots of in-countries players, so it's getting there slowly. They cover all the different scenarios, so for merchants, for businesses, for consumers, for all different types of payments businesses, and it's getting to a better maturity compared to the years before. Before it was just to make it work. Now I think it's getting closer to the business scenarios and business cases when it is becoming real and more adopted and specific scenarios implemented.
One of the things that I'm not seeing, well, there's two things. One is Visa on here, which I mean, it's kind of astonishing, right? And MasterCard have got a huge stand, but there's no sign of Visa. But also, I thought there'd be a lot more people kind of in the authentication. So there's lots of people in the identity, KYC, AML space, not so much in authentication. I thought there'd be a rash of new 3D secure kind of providers. We know that's a huge problem in the market. But I haven't come across a lot of people in that space.
No, it's remarkable that it is not, because it remains a limited selection in that as providers for the moment. I think it's a quite complex material, and most people don't dare to go into that now, as long as these scenarios are not crystallized 100% and you see the issue is still there.
Because of the risk, because of people taking on the liability of getting authentication wrong?
Yeah, if you do it as a service, so in your SLA probably
suddenly there's a problem and you're liable for the whole transaction.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Petru, what about content? Have you been able to kind of catch any presentations or anything like that?
I have seen great presentations, some of them around more crypto, NFTs, so the new trends.
Here?
Here, yep.
Okay.
Just to attract people, I think. So it's new topics, new areas of interest, and people are getting more crowded to those new events, new presentations. They are quite in detail, so it's about next generation, what will happen with those new directions. It's not about what is that. Now it's about how this will develop, how it can help in real business.
And Peter, have you seen any kind of product announcements or any partnership announcements?
No, but what me mainly strikes is that I visited a lot of booths of technology providers, is that they're always talking about one API. So that's a common trend that I see. What I also see is we are going away from the typical in the issuing space being a card issuer. No, you're an expense management issuer, or you're an insurance issuer.
So basically, so it's like embedded. So it's the use cases that are set on top of
the use cases of, let's say, embedded finance, you can call it, in a certain way. But that you're not saying I'm issuing cards, but I'm issuing cards for that purpose, and that's quite an evolution in the market, I must say.
And what about marketplaces? Because that's a super hot topic. What have you seen here in that space, Petru?
So there are no big marketplace players around, which is astonishing because most of them, they have payments problems. But there are payments companies that are solving for marketplaces their problems. So there are a few. It's not very crowded space. I have seen new players coming from France. I have seen a few older players that are expanding into new geographies. And they work with large marketplaces, but there are no direct marketplaces at the event.
Okay, and if I'm I'm an Endava customer, and I'm an acquirer, for you, Peter, what would be the kind of key theme or the key thing to be thinking about?
Let's say we started a couple of years ago digitalization, and digitalization was doing digital transactions. Nobody in the beginning really cared about the onboarding and KYC. They still had their faxes or their scans and so on. But now the people want full digitalization, and now the whole thing, what Petru already mentioned about onboarding, digital onboarding, KYC, KYB, becomes really an important factor if you want to take this last step in the digitalization as an acquirer.
Okay, and as an issuer, Petru, what are you seeing?
So we see a big direction of the issuers becoming more consolidated. So they consolidate all their onboarding capabilities, KYC checks, KYB, across all their channels.
One supplier to give them across multiple geographies,
or they consolidate all their products into one single solution for their customers. It's something that we see also in our world. So before the event, so here it's just a confirmation that these things happen. We see also focusing, so the large issuers, so banks that are focusing on offering their services as API, so banking as a service and becoming more open for the market.
Okay, and if you're a retailer, Peter, I guess we don't see a lot of retailers here. Actually,
you don't see a lot of retailers. You see more the providers to retailers, the PSPs and so on, who are here. You don't see really what can I benefit as a retailer now here from this event. So that's maybe a lack for the organization, as that is one of the, to my idea, biggest growth markets of the next year is retail and payments.
Well, so actually, I thought something that we might see this year is more kind of orchestration products. So there's a lot of API products here, and as you say, everybody wants one API, but it wants it to be their API. So the reality is that retailers, issuers, acquirers, there's a kind of consistent technology theme here, which is that you're going to have to be able to pull all of those different components together and make them work. And I don't feel like there's no one product in the market that'll do that for you. So that still feels very much like that's where the kind of engineering challenge lies, is how do you pull all of that together. Great. Well, look, it's been fantastic being back together again. It's always lovely to be, to be surrounded by the world of payments. Last year the event was quite small. Now we're all able to travel again. A really great event, and I'm looking forward to the next one.